Hey y'all, it's Olivia of AV Reads. Today, here to talk to you about AV watches. I decided that before Halloween, I wanted to share some of my other loves with you, which is watching horror movies. And I thought I would even be helpful today and talk about 6 horror movies that I don't think you will have seen yet. You may have seen some of them, but I don't think you've seen all of them. And the reason I wanted to make a video like this isn't to be like, oh, I'm, watching the most obscure things, that I'm just the coolest person ever. But I just watch some weird stuff. I love to kind of like wake up on Saturday mornings and like watch something that I've never heard anyone else talk about before, just while I'm coming to my senses. Which is why I've amassed a collection of movies that may be new to you. So the way that I kind of figured out some movies that I thought other people may not have seen. Most of these I just looked at my letterboxd and looked at sorted by horror and started looking at stuff that was like under 10,000 people having logged it on Letterboxd, which I think is like a pretty good, standard for movies that most people haven't seen. Except for the movie that I'm going to talk about first. And the movie that I'm going to talk about first had a little bit more, about 20,000 viewed or something like that. But anytime I try to talk about this movie with anyone who I think would love it, they have not yet seen it. And so the first movie that I want to talk about today is Knife Plus Heart. Knife Plus Heart is a French giallo from 2018 directed by Yann Gonzalez, and it's set in the gay porn industry of France of 1979. And the theming throughout is just so rich that everything feels like very touchable, tangible, in the dreamiest way. Just that it's so rich with imagery and club scenes and everyone is so 70s styled, but it is one of those films that's very giallo, neon colored, but more modern, the Neon Demon or something like that. But I feel like it has a lot more substance. So Knife Plus Heart is set on the set of a gay porn directed by Yann, who is played by Vanessa Paradis, and the actors are suddenly getting killed off one by one, and there's a gloved masked killer that's that you're in the process of figuring out who it is. But it's so stylish, it's so queer. I love everything about this movie. The soundtrack is by M83. I just think that if you like anything, if you're looking for queer horror films, if you're looking for modern giallo, if you're looking for translated horror films, because it does come from French, if you're looking for just a sensory experience, I will say that's kind of a recurring theme of the movies that I've picked today is appealing to the senses rather than a lot of gory grittiness. But if you're looking for a movie like that, then I would definitely recommend Knife Plus Heart. From here on out, I think I've mostly sorted by decreasing in popularity, at least as told by the fellow film watchers at Letterboxd. And if you have a Letterboxd, let me know down below, because I always want more friends. The next film that I picked is one that's a surprise to me how much I liked, and it was actually recommended to me by my friend Alicia, who previously of booktube but has been on a very long hiatus. We miss her dearly. But Alicia recommended Vicious Fun, which came out in 2020. Vicious Fun was directed by Cody Calahan, and it follows a young man, a young everyman, who is kind of pining for his roommate, but she has just like the worst boyfriend ever. And it seems like it's kind of like going in that direction, like, like, of course, like she should want me instead. But he's just like the sketchiest dude. And so like he goes to like, you know, drink his worries away when he accidentally gets like too drunk at the bar at the Chinese restaurant, I think, and accidentally stumbles upon a self-help group, a support group for serial killers. And it's so fun. So because it's like somewhat tongue-in-cheek, kind of funny, there is like some referential meta narrative to like the types of serial killers that are there. Like there's the guy who has like a sledgehammer or a drill, or, you know, like whatever like the driller killer kind of like archetype is. And then there's like the guy who's like very like precise and like how he commits murders. There's like a Texan dude who's like very just like seems very normal. So there is like some meta narrative stuff, and that usually bothers me a lot. I think it's usually very like cheap and not very interesting, but I really liked this movie. I thought it was like funny and stylish and you know, like not the most subversive movie ever, but like subverted what I expected from. Sorry, Roland's moving me around. Subverted what I was expecting out of a movie that does have meta narrative at play. We loved him. Hi. Hi. He's baby. So, I mean, it subverted my expectations for it. And so I think that if you're like open to something that's like a little bit funny, like I think in my review I said something about like it being similar to like, you know, like a pizza party movie, like a slumber party movie, not the most like gruesome thing you'll ever see, but it, you know, there's still some gore. It's still a horror movie. It's still fun. I would definitely check out Vicious Fun. The next movie that I wanted to talk about actually is kind of a downer. I had kind of like a movie hangover after watching this movie. The movie is Toad Road, which was released in 2012, directed by Jason Banker. I forgot to mention this for my earlier movies. Both of those movies I watched on Shudder. This movie I watched for free on Kino Cult, which it's like a free with ads new like cult, not just cult horror, just like cult film streaming service, which I highly recommend. I've loved everything that I've watched on there so far. I might have some other recommendations coming from there. But Toad Road was bleak in a sense, and it's a rural urban legend horror film that's semi-realistic, because some of it was like documentary about a group of friends that were just like doing a ton of drugs. And like for me, it definitely like, I wouldn't say like hit super close to home, but like I just like know those people from my hometown. Just like whenever there's not a lot to do and your town isn't offering a lot in the way of community, that people do just tend to, and not that this doesn't happen in bigger cities either, but like it does seem like a thing where people just get like caught up in drugs, and that's like their bonding between friends. And then they always say they're gonna leave and move away, and then they never do. So like that friend group that we see like a lot of like just like documentary of them doing drugs was very reminiscent of people that I know. But there's like this other storyline going on. Obviously there's like an actual storyline too. Toad Road is an urban legend about this like place in Pennsylvania where there's like 7 gates, in this like forest, and if you pass through all 7 gates, then you go directly to hell. So people like know where like the first 2 gates are, like in the friend group, but then like it's said like if you get to the 4th gate that you like immediately like pass out and like start losing memories and stuff like that. But it's like following this like girl who's new to town, new to this friend group, and like she's like sober and like has never done drugs before whenever she first gets there, but falls in with this group of friends and like isn't just doing drugs to like have fun, but like takes it on as like a spiritual journey, and gets more and more devoted to the process of doing drugs, especially like psychedelic drugs. But like that, oh, it's just like, it like truly gripped my heart. And like I already had like a movie hangover after watching it, just like how intense that was. And like that's a more like gritty, realistic movie, but also like the actress who plays that main character like died of a heroin overdose like in the couple weeks after this movie was first released, which I didn't know going into it, but like looking back on it, like just like adds so much more weight to it. But Toad Road, if you're in the mood for something that's a little bit more bleak, if you're looking for something that's bleak and dark, I would definitely recommend this, you know, if you're open to it, and especially like if you know people like that, then I think that it does have like a catharsis to it, but definitely not a fun movie, not a slumber party movie. I think I'm just going to talk about 2 more movies today. The next movie that I want to talk about is Black Magic Rites, which was released in 1973 by Renato Polselli, and this is an Italian horror film, and a like truly cult horror film, erotic horror film, from the 70s. And I don't think it got an English dub whenever it was first released, and it has it has a plot. What the plot is, I couldn't really tell ya. There's the reincarnation of Isabel is like another name for the movie, and so like there is like that where it's like this like vampire witch that they're trying to reincarnate through like virgin sacrifices, and it's like there's like a, you know, it's like a cult horror film, but it's also about a cult. And like very heavy on like the stylized virgin sacrifice kind of thing. So this is a very different vibe from the other movies that I was mentioning, because I don't think this movie is going to be for everyone. It's so just like stylish, and it doesn't quite make sense. One of my friends on Letterboxd, Adrian, referred to this as like the exploitation version of Suspiria, in that it does have a plot, but by the end of it, it's like it was all about the friends that you made along the way, more so than like actually understanding the plot. Just like similar to Suspiria, like it's my favorite movie, but like the plot doesn't, you know, fully check out the first time you watch it. You kind of have to watch it a couple times to really understand what's going on, which I like that ambiguity and just like the appeal to the senses and like welcoming you to the sensual world. There's like a sex comedy subplot, you know, it's like the full like cult 70s horror thing with like, you know, lesbian vampires and people in black, like at black masses and like the red robes, and it's so sleazy. It's very sleazy. But if that's something that appeals to you, then this is your movie. But like if you like other giallo that, and like really that lighting appeals to you, like just like, or, you know, like even modern movies like The Love Witch and like just like the reds and purples and golds and just like the rich, like, you know, sleazy stuff, then check this one out. Black Magic Rites. I loved it. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but like it's nice to look at. The last movie that I'm going to recommend today is somewhat sleazy, somewhat gory, but in a different way. The movie is Black Roses, which was released in 1988 by John Fasano. And Black Roses focuses on a small conservative town, and all of the kids are getting so excited because this famous metal band is coming to town to play. And it's supposed to be, this is like the first town they're visiting. Like no one's seen them yet. But they come to town to play, and it starts to turn the kids evil. And it's like, I kind of feel like it's like a Goosebumps episode, but like a sleazy, gory episode of Goosebumps. Because like it does fully go out with like, there's like, you know, plenty of sex and violence, but there's like also just like cool like costuming that's almost like Power Rangers-y. Like it was just so much fun to watch. Like it didn't take itself too seriously. It was goofy but gory. There was, I mean, just like cool effects, like a scene with like a record player going evil, and just like having a lot of fun with what it was. So like if you're looking for the adult version of Goosebumps, then let me recommend Black Roses. And I already forgot that I was like supposed to be like telling you where I saw all these things. So yeah, Toad Road and Black Magic Rites were on Kino Cult, and then I watched Black Magic Rites and Toad Road were on Kino Cult, and then Black Roses was on Shudder. So those are five horror movies that you haven't yet seen. I hope, or I hope that this was like useful to you in some way. And let me know if you have seen any of these, or if you think that any of these sound appealing. Let me know if you're looking for recommendations, if you're looking for movies in a certain genre, or with a certain tone to them, because I think I've covered a little bit of everything here. I got full out sleaze. I got just the most existentially tiring movie in Toad Road, just like even remembering it, I'm just like tired, but like in a good way. Like I'm glad I watched it. So Black Roses, goofy. Black Magic Rites, sleazy. Toad Road, dreary. Vicious, fun. Actually really fun. And then what was the other movie I talked about? Knife Plus Heart, which I think the reason that people haven't seen this is because it's like very art house. So I think that those are like the majority of people have seen that, rather than like people who are watching just like a lot of like horror genre film. So we got a little bit of everything today. We got a little bit of class, we got a little bit of sleaze, and like everything in between. But let me know if this was helpful to you, and let me know what else you want to hear about as far as movies, because I watch too many movies, so I'm happy to talk about them. But I will see y'all again soon. Bye-bye.